to the AAHOA Educational Experience. I'm Chip Rogers, and we are finishing our three-part series on the BP oil spill, what it means almost 2 years later to both the people impacted and to the entire region that is still trying to climb out of the economic impact of the spill. With me this week is Jay Patel. He is the chairman and CEO of LHS Companies. Jay, thanks for being with us. Wesley Farrell, who is the president of Farrell and Patel Attorneys at Law in South Florida, and next to him is Ricky Patel, a partner with Farrell and Patel Attorneys at Law. And gentlemen, you are three noted experts in this field. You've been working on this. I guess it's taken up a good portion of your life, the last, 20 months, 18 months at least?
2 years.
Yeah.
So for people that have a legitimate claim, even if you go to the Gulf Coast Claims Facility and say, look, I want to see what I should get paid if you'll pay me, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're giving up your rights to pursue anything in court. You can still go to court, correct?
No. First, in the first 8 months, you were entitled to emergency claims. That was your fundamental right to a claim. You fill out the forms, and they would assess your damages and pay you. Then they made offers to businesses to settle out of court. However, if you elected not to settle, you are still eligible for interim payments. Each quarter, you submit your paperwork, you let them know what your losses were, and then they are supposed to determine the losses and send you a check. Of course, that hasn't happened. But in no ways do you have to settle. You still have the option to go to court or settle before you go to court.
And Jay had mentioned earlier, Wes, that from the beginning they were saying anybody who just wants $25,000 and I guess sign your rights away, you could do that. And unfortunately, a lot of people who probably were damaged far more than $25,000 took that route because of the economic times we live in.
You know, it's certainly an individual analysis, but I think that in many cases, BP is very happy to pay $25,000 to get rid of a claim and settle a claim forever. Jay mentioned, you know, there's interim payments and then there's a final payment. And if you do pursue a claim with the GCCF and they find it to be valid, they will make an offer. And say the offer is $100,000, they will then offer you another $100,000 to settle your claim forever. And you will then have to release the over 100 companies that have potential liability in the matter and in the court proceeding or any other thing. And it's certainly an individual analysis. And for our clients, for anyone out there, it's something they need to understand. You know, look at your own circumstances and understand if it makes sense for you to accept the offer. But in many cases, it's hard to quantify the full scope of the damages in this case. And in many cases, the offers are not necessarily what's going to make somebody whole necessarily.
And I would imagine, of course, BP, they're not in the business of giving out extra money, so they're not going to bring their best offer to the table. But Ricky, I think in a way what Wes highlights, it's so important to have counsel on this because you may think as a business owner, here's what my damage is, but since you guys have been through this, you can say, no, well, have you considered this? Have you considered this? Have you considered this? I mean, that's where counsel certainly helps, doesn't it?
Sure, I agree with you 100%. Counsel is necessary in order for you to see all of the alternatives. There's a lot of people that may hear terms like multi-district litigation and plaintiff steering committee and so forth and think, you know what, this is too complicated. Let me just fill out my document with GCCF, get my $25,000 and continue on. It's really sad. As we stated before, we don't know the extent of this oil spill. All it takes is one strong hurricane to go through the Gulf Coast, and that oil is coming back up. That oil did not disappear. So we want to look at it like this and say, if you want to get the full recovery of your damages and to ensure that if something happens in the future, you are taken care of, go to an attorney. Most attorneys won't charge you to talk to them and ask questions. If you sign up, you know, we suggest people go with attorneys that give you a contingency fee. That way, if you don't get paid, you're in the same spot you're in right now. You don't have to pay anything up front or anything else, but go there. Get the guidance of people that are focusing on it. Go to someone that's going to give you transparency. Have someone walk you through this whole process because they really have made it very tedious and somewhat complex.
I want to go back to Wes real quick because this is more of a legal question. So as Ricky pointed out, you go in, you accept an offer, and you say, okay, I'm not going to pursue this matter any further, but what if a storm comes up and oil that's sitting at the bottom of the Gulf damages you? I mean, what happens?
It's a great question. I mean, and it's something that I think people who have accepted the final offer, let me back up. If you accept the final offer, you're done. You cannot go back to them and say, oh, but now there's another more. Oh, what's there? I didn't see it. No, it doesn't work that way. And you know, in that scenario, that person could be limiting their potential recovery.
And Jay, you had mentioned earlier in the break, collectively working together. I think that it doesn't matter what it is, but this is a great example of it. You go into BP, you go into the claim center, and you're just one person. You're not going to be treated with a lot of respect, but as an organization, you carry a lot more weight.
Absolutely. You know, when we first made our initial contact, you couldn't get them on the phone. But when you use the power of collective groups, and we were fortunate to run into Ricky and Wes, who were already working on building a team of experts, because we needed some legal advice on exactly how we were going to move this forward, myself and Nash. But the togetherness of having over 1,000 to 1,200 hotels, not just with their firm, but other groups that we've talked to, collectively gave us one voice to speak on behalf of the Asian Americans, and it really got BP's attention, as well as Ken Feinberg's. I think we've been successful in moving the model forward, but we haven't been fully successful. Today, a lot of people still call me and ask me, what should we do? Should we settle? My advice has been, and this is just strictly my advice, is don't take the settlement. We don't know the uncertainty of the Gulf. We in the Gulf are hurricane prone, as you may have seen in the past years. And the true test of the damages will come after a strong hurricane comes through our region and picks up that oil and brings it ashore, or doesn't bring it ashore. We have time. We're not pressed for time. Continue to fight for your interim payments. Your losses are there. Continue to fight for it. Firms like Wesley's firm and other firms will do just that. The payout will come sooner or later. But I don't advise people to go ahead and try to settle now, because we believe that there's a huge, bigger impact that we can't see right now. And once it happens, it'll be, you know, just a darn shame on BP's side that they won't pay out.
And Chip, I'd like to add to what Jay said. So initially, when our firm started working at this, when we had 50 claims, even at that point, BP they weren't interested. We got to 100 claims, and we joined with the leaders of AAHOA. Jay and Nash have been just the backbone of AAHOA as far as pushing this. And so we started putting our groups together. All these small groups started becoming bigger. We started getting more attention. We got to 500 hotels, and now we're at the table with these guys. Now over 1,000 hotels, now we have the attention. So Jay has a fantastic point. Go to your community, get together, you know, the hotel owners, the restaurants, convenience stores, whatever it is, sit down together, find counsel, and go and get that attention that your properties deserve. Because when this oil spill happened, no one cared about your property. Right now, get together and make sure that your claims are filled out correctly, and so you can receive the compensation that's deserved.
And I would think if you're Ken Feinberg and you've got this, who knows how many litigants you may have to deal with. Well, somebody who comes to the table with 1,000, you're thinking, I can deal with this and potentially get 1,000 people off the table. Which, not that it's happening, but at least he's.
And the biggest impact is the resources that these guys bring to the table, the expert testimonies that they bring, the expert research that they bring collectively is what's convincing these guys that there's a bigger payout.
Right.
You know, just like Ken Feinberg says, prove to me that you are owed the money and I will pay you. But the burden of proof is on us. And I just can't go in and say, hey, you owe me because I think you owe me. I better have tangible, credible evidence to back it up. And those resources is where these groups are bringing in. So collectively, as a group, as AAHOA, spearheading this, as the experts, we have now become a strong voice for not only BP to listen to, our congressmen and senators are listening to us, as well as Ken Feinberg is listening to us. So we believe we're on the right track. We're moving fast and forward. We're hitting them every day. We're in his face every week. Ken Feinberg, as he said to me, he says, I'm disappointed because you keep me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I took it as a compliment that I keep him up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
I'd stay up to 3 o'clock to make $1 million a month. Just exactly. We got a lot more to talk about coming up after this quick break. Join us again. Welcome back to the AAHOA Educational Experience. I'm Chip Rogers, and we are finishing up our discussion on the BP oil spill and what has been the impact. We've talked about what happened, what has transpired since it's happened, what are your options as a property owner who has been impacted by the BP oil spill. But now we're looking at what's next. And I want to start with you, Wesley. You have a situation where they've pledged $20 billion. They've paid out about a quarter of that. And you've also got a trial coming up. Tell us about what's going to happen with this trial.
Well, the first segment of the federal litigation will begin in February 2012, and will begin progressing from there. At that point, a number of things can happen, and I think it might be challenging to try to go through all those different steps. But it's important to understand that that date is approaching rapidly, and it's I think in most people's best interest, people who may think they don't have a claim, people who may have a small claim, who may have to go and look at their numbers and see if they had a loss, And I know there's many law firms out there that will do a free analysis for people, that will look at how they were impacted and see if they were. If they weren't, then it's not anyone's good use of time to pursue it. But certainly it's something to consider with that date rapidly approaching.
Ricky, what are the probable and possible alternatives coming out of this trial? I mean, what could happen? What's likely to happen?
Sure. There's three main directions that can go. Aside from this, I mean, trials can go haywire, as we've seen all over the media.
Right.
So the first one is BP looks at the damages out there and says, you know what, we can wrap this up for the next $15 billion, at which point they start making settlement offers, as traditional corporations would do. The second part is they let this go to trial and see what's the reaction. How many clients do we have? What type of damage is the court system offering? At which point they can settle it out before there's some type of jury verdict on there. The third part is the part that we do not want to see, which is what happened with Exxon Valdez. It goes to court, there's a settlement given, it starts getting appealed over and over again, and the people with these businesses who desperately need the money to keep their businesses afloat lose out, the money's paid out, pennies on the dollar at the end, and litigation can take forever. I have a lot of faith that BP will do the right thing with, of course, the pressure of the government, and try and do hopefully one of the first two. However, this thing is really a dice roll. I mean, it can go any direction. It really can.
Keep in mind, just as much as tourism and travel is a business of perception, so is any business. And BP, as one of the largest corporations in the world, is certainly conscious of the fact that this is something that is going to have a significant impact on their perception on a global level. So that's something I think that we hope will keep continuing, and people will understand that there are people who have not been made whole, and there are many people who have suffered from this that are still suffering.
So if you're BP, though, I mean, I think I'm having to weigh two options. Number one, the risk of trial. If this thing goes all the way through, who knows what ultimately could happen to them. But on the other hand, time is on their side, because the longer this takes, I mean, they got some really deep pockets. Mm-hmm. The people that were injured don't. And they can just simply wear them down. I mean, is that a possible scenario?
It's something that is relevant and present in any case where there's a major corporation against small litigants. And I think it's something that is certainly relevant here. But it is also relevant to realize that the amount of plaintiffs that are going after BP, if they don't take care of them, they could go bankrupt. And that's something that is a reality that I don't think anybody wants, and I'm certain the people at the top of BP don't want.
Chip, also real quick, as stated that BP has pockets to withstand this. Well, let's go back to the reason why they even put the $20 billion in this fund. They didn't put that out there purely out of good faith. They put that because the oil spill happened at one of their locations. It wasn't like a ship moving oil. They have licenses out there. Now, you talk about the cost of a license. If they lose this license in the Gulf of Mexico, which is a huge conglomerate of oil fields all around, they could lose hundreds of billions of dollars. Right. At that point, you've really hurt their pockets. So Is it in their best interest to take care of this, stay on good terms with the government who leases the contracts? Because let me tell you, if that lease goes, you know, we saw what happened with the moratorium. That lease will go to the next bidder. That's when you'll see BP take a big beating.
Right.
So.
We believe that there's a huge impact on AAHOA hotels. We've estimated just at AAHOA close to $750 million to almost $1 billion in damages, and that's not including punitive damages. We're not even looking at that. We're looking at getting legitimate claims that need to get paid, and I believe you'll see in the next 12 months a significant movement towards working collectively, you know, of course, using the groups that we're with to carve out something so members can get paid.
So what about those members who already, again, this goes back to a previous show, they were struggling, you know, because the economy has taken a toll on everybody, and now they're hit by this. They just don't have the time to wait. I mean, are you seeing this happen with members who don't have time to wait to get paid for something that they didn't do?
Unfortunately, that's a reality factor. There's quite a few hotels that I know of personally have filed for bankruptcy. They've lost their hotels. Their wives are working at Walmart. But even though you've lost your business, you are still entitled to that claim. You're still entitled to the damages of losing the hotel. While it's going to take a little time, don't give up on it. You know, join the groups that are working together and let them work for you and let them get the data and the necessary information to build your case. And hopefully, if not today, tomorrow you do get paid for that.
We're running out of time, but that brings up a really good question. You get damaged by the oil spill. The time that they drag their feet or whatever they're going through and you don't get paid, then you lose your business. Can you claim the loss of your business against them not paying you when they should have?
I believe someone will certainly be entitled to do
Absolutely.
that. The GCCF right now is not compensating people for that.
Right.
But I certainly believe when it is all said and done, that person who can prove that but for the oil spill, they would not have lost their business will be able to recover for their losses, and they should be able to.
And so BP's got to take that in consideration as this thing plays out.
It goes right back to the whole thing. I mean, in a negligence case, right now they have everything on their side. They can settle up on whatever terms they want. When this goes to court, though, with the case dealing with negligence and the property loss, oh yeah, that's definitely going to come to the jury as far as losses, definitely.
So we, of course, all pray this never happens again. But
Sure.
quickly, because we got less than a minute to go, when will all this be wrapped up? What do you think?
I would say the next 12 to 18 months.
I'm hopeful that it will be sooner than that, but I am hesitant to put an exact timetable on that.
Ricky, what do you think?
I wish it was taken care of on April 20th, 2010.
We always said it would never happen. It would be the easiest way to
Correct.
say it. Except for Ken, he's making a good I'm sure he doesn't wish this happened either. But, all right, so we are out of time. I want to thank my guests, Ricky Patel and Wes Farrell, and of course, Jay Patel. Thank you, gentlemen, for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chip.
Expertise on this matter has been outstanding. If you'd like to reach me, you can. Chip@AAHOA.com, chip@AAHOA.com. Please join us again next week. We'll be right back here. Thanks again for watching.